All right, if she'd lead us in the pledge, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the Lackawanna County Prison Board meeting to order at 12:30. First item of business is an approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I'm going to need a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. The opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only. Okay. Okay, moving on to motion 22-35, motion to approve all current payables for the Community Correction Center and the prison. Would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, now we'll get into the reports. 22-3046, the Controller's Report. Mr. DeBilio.
Yes, Sheriff. Thank you. Lackawanna County Controller's Report for the prison inmate and canteen accounts for July 2022. I'm going to give my normal report and then make a few comments regarding some of these accounts. The Controller's Office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the Prison Business Office for the month of July 2022 and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statements. The balance in the inmate account, which is money belonging to inmates individually, was $529,663.06 as of July 31st, 2022. The balance in the canteen checking account, and the canteen account is officially the Lackawanna County Inmate Welfare Fund. The funds in this account are derived from sales by inmates from the prison commissary, which sells food, snacks, clothing items, etc. This is money that the prison keeps after the commissary sales are made and is to be used for the benefit, education, and welfare of our inmates. This board and the prison are guardians and fiduciaries of these funds. So the balance in the canteen checking account was $851,432.40 as of July 31st. And in addition, as of July 31st, the canteen account owned two certificates of deposit, one valued at $15,000 and the other at $132,371.08, totaling $147,371.08. During the month of July of 2022, $101,340.45 was paid from the canteen account for expenses which benefit county inmates. And a list of the itemized account expenses are attached. I wanted to say that at our last meeting, a member of the public asked about the rates of investment return that the prison is earning on the funds in the Inmate Welfare Fund account, better known as the canteen account. And to answer that question, the $851,432.40 in the canteen checking account is earning $0. The $132,371.08 CD is a 90-day certificate of deposit earning 0.05% annually and matures next on September 15th, 2022. The $15,000 CD is a one-year certificate of deposit earning 0.15% annually and matures next on December 3rd of 2022. Interest from this CD goes into the canteen checking account. and that's why it remains at $15,000 each month. While the board is acting as a custodian, ensures that these funds are used for the benefit, education, and welfare of our prison inmates. These funds, a total of which are $998,803.48, is earning current investment interest of only $887 per year, annualized at today's rates, current rates. As fiduciaries, we should try to maximize the investment return on this account without investment risk. I sent an email out to members of the board on Monday letting the board know that the county treasurer uses the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, and that's Mr. Karpovich, Ed Karpovich, the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, also known as Pliget, for a sizable amount of county funds. 2 years ago, I invited a representative of Pliget, Mr. Paul Robinson, to participate in a virtual meeting during the pandemic. He did that, and he spoke to us about Pliget and the investment rates at that time, which then and now are better than we currently receive. No action was taken at that time. In my email, I said it doesn't seem prudent on our behalf as guardians to continue our current investment practice. And in my email, I mentioned an option which I recommended then and now of using Pliget for $600,000 of our checking account total, which leaves $251,000 in the checking account. The $600,000 would earn a 4-month rate of 3.03 annualized until December. That would generate over $6,000 by the end of the year. And then taking the $132,000 CD, which matures in September, and investing that for 3 months at 2.83% annualized, would earn an additional $1,000 by December. So by the end of the year, we would have earned approximately $7,000 for the canteen account. In December, the last CD, the $15,000 CD, comes due, and we could look at all of the funds at that time once again. But for 2023, if we invested all but $250,000 of our checking account money into a 1-year Pliget rate, current rate, we would earn over $28,000 compared to $887 we're earning now for the further welfare, education, and benefit of our inmates. $250,000 in the checking account provides total liquidity and more than enough money to handle day-to-day operations of the canteen account. As controller, I recommend that we take the necessary steps to work with Paul Robinson from the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust at Pliget and to put these actions into effect. And I'd like to make that in the form of a motion, if I may.
Before we do that, does anybody have any questions for Controller DeBilio? Any questions before we?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, but the current investment with Pliget, are we locked in for 3 months or longer, or not locked in at all? I'm just a little confused with what your proposal is.
Well, taking the current money and putting it in a 4-month $120 account, Mark, would generate the $6,000 by the end of the year. And then in September, when the $132,000 CD comes due, earning only 0.05, we can get 0.83% annualized for 3 months, taking us till the end of the year, at which time the $15,000 CD would come due in December. At that time, we might be able to put the funds together, and if we took a one-year rate, which currently is 3.66%, for roughly $776,000 of our $1 million approximately, we'd earn the $28,000 over the course of next year.
But your current motion would be to propose this and reevaluate January 2023 to determine the next step for a 12-year rate.
Yes, we can do that, and that would be part of my motion.
So just to be clear, we're just voting on this till the end of the year, and then we revisit it at the beginning of the
That's
new year.
perfectly fine, Sheriff.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Anybody like to entertain Controller DeBillio's motion?
I believe it's seconded, so it's just up for a vote.
Did anybody second it?
Jerry Notarianni seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Controller DeBillio? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. McConaughey with the Community Corrections Center report.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a house arrest report for the month of July. Adult house arrest had 149 participants. Juvenile had 24. Programs revenue for the month, adult had $48,758.10. Juvenile had $4,280. Total for the month, $53,038.10. Year-to-date totals for both departments is $414,315.23. The program's revenues is $70,617.55. Programs completions were 30. Programs violations were 7. Outstanding warrants, still 1 for work release and 1 for house arrest. And the budget report overall, overtime's at 48%, expenses at 53%, and revenues at 63%. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to approving your report, I was just advised we approved Mr. DeBillio's motion, but not his report. So I'm going to ask, can I have a motion to approve Mr. DeBillio's controller report?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. McConaughey? Okay, a motion to accept Mr. McConaughey's report. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Same to you. Mr. Betty, the warden, you're up.
Good afternoon, Board. The in-house population, the average daily population for July was 749 inmates, 575 were county inmates. For the month of July, we averaged 650 adult males, 6 juvenile males, and 93 adult females. The average daily population of U.S. Marshal detainees was 174. Our overtime and out-of-county boarding reports are attached. The staffing update, currently our correctional officer numbers break down to 167 full-timers on shift, 5 on workers' comp, 2 on continuous FMLA, 63 with intermittent FMLA, 5 on administrative leave, and that 1 vacancy is now 2. It happened over the weekend, so we have 2 vacancies. Budget as of July 31st, 2022, revenue was at 53% and expenses were at 58%. Extraordinary occurrence reports, there were 4 since the last prison board meeting. On July 6th, a female was discovered with a sheet tied around her neck. Staff removed the sheet and had her placed on a suicide prevention watch. On 7/12, two females got into a verbal argument, and staff intervened to de-escalate the situation. However, one of the women became belligerent and combative, and staff opted to place this person in the emergency restraint chair for the safety of everyone involved. On 7/23, a newly committed male was observed banging his head off his cell door and acting inappropriately. A decision was made to place him in the emergency restraint chair for his safety. And on 7/29, a female got into a physical altercation with staff in the prison's booking area. Staff placed her in the emergency restraint chair for the safety of all involved. PREA, there were 3 PREA investigations completed in the month of July. There were 2 allegations of inmate sexual contact. One was deemed unfounded and the other was deemed unsubstantiated. And there was 1 allegation of staff on inmate sexual harassment, and it was deemed unfounded. And this concludes my report.
Any questions for the warden?
Yes, Warden, those PREA incidents were turned over. The 3 PREA incidents were turned over to the district attorney's office.
Yes, they were. I normally put that there. My apologies, I forgot to put that line in there. They're all turned over to the DA's
Public
office.
knows. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Warden, I have one. It's been brought to our attention that inmates have been throwing feces and urine at our corrections officers. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure. That's unfortunately, that's a not uncommon incident. It happens probably once a month. We have an incident like that. We just had an incident yesterday where an inmate bit an officer. Unfortunately, we have to deal with those kind of behaviors on a daily basis, and one of them is individuals will throw feces, will throw urine at our staff members. It's one of the questions we ask potential new hires when considering them is like, do you realize you're going to be called names? Do you realize you're going to have your life and the life of your family threatened? Do you realize somebody's going to throw urine at you?
Has there any been discipline?
When that occurs, the individual gets a misconduct written up for them. And if they're found guilty at the misconduct hearing, they get time in disciplinary custody. I mean, not much else we could do. If it's a significant enough, we'll report it to the district attorney's office. But frankly, I mean, it doesn't, if you throw urine and you hit my shoes with it, I don't see that as prosecutable, but myself.
We just wanted to make sure it was being addressed, that's all.
Yeah.
There was a couple of concerned people.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to ask? Any questions for the warden?
One last question from me. Warden, can you discuss the current solitary confinement practices of the prison?
I'd be happy to. I've been trying to figure out what individuals mean by solitary confinement. I've worked at the county jail almost nonstop since 1992. We don't use that term, solitary confinement. It invokes images of the movie Cool Hand Luke. We don't have a hot box out in the yard that we put people in. We don't have a cell that's sensory deprivation. We don't have solitary confinement in my definition, my personal definition, because that's what I think of. I know that there is a group out there and they've been running around with a petition. I understand that, and they have all the right in the world to do that, but I'd like to see solitary confinement defined. I've recently come across one by the Cornell Law School. I like the definition there. At least it's putting a definition on it. And on that, based on that definition, we do not have solitary confinement. I looked at that petition that's out there, that they want to, well, how they define solitary confinement of having you housed with other individuals, that's not solitary. It defeats the word solitary. So I disagree with the definition that the group is using for solitary confinement. And I can tell you that when individuals here are locked down for one reason or another, whether it be because they're on a suicide watch or they're in disciplinary custody or they're in medical isolation, they have inmates on either side of them, up above them or below them. They're allowed to communicate. We have tablets, we have telephones that are available, we have staff that come by and do rounds. nobody's in a dark padded cell with no sunlight. And that's what solitary confinement invokes in my mind.
Thank you. For the record, as you know, we spoke. I received a text about a week ago inviting me to, I don't know if it was a rally or a meeting or something, and from the group who's against solitary confinement. I asked them if they would attend a meeting with you after speaking with you and me regarding that matter, and I never got a response from them. So I haven't heard back anything.
And I've had no communication with them either. There are some things that are out there on Instagram that are patently false, put out by that group. So I'd be questioning everything. Question what I say too. You know, I'm the other flip side of that coin. Feel free. I'm more than comfortable defending our practices at the jail.
Thank you.
Well, when you do hear something from them, you coordinate with the warden?
Yes.
Okay.
Warden, if I may, on behalf of Commissioner Shermack, who's not available today, he has been looking for performance evaluations on the medical contract that the prison has with WellPath. Can you tell me where that stands, please?
Yeah, I have been meeting with WellPath officials for the last couple months. I've been slowly learning exactly what I think I need to be learning about their staffing and billing related issues. I was going to prepare a report for the commissioners. I just haven't had the opportunity to do that because we've been busy getting prepared for an upcoming inspection by the state, which is next Tuesday.
Okay. Do you have any idea when you might have it that I could tell him?
September. I mean, and no offense to the board, my plan was to present it to the commissioners first, and then consult with them about the board, because the commissioners are the ones who hired the medical provider.
All right, I'll pass that along. Thank you very much.
Anything else for Warden Betty? Thank you, Warden.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the warden's report? Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, this is the opportunity for the public to address the board.
Good afternoon, Board. Bob Wallace, Scranton. Couple issues I think I'd like to start with that have been ongoing. And the first one I'd like to address is how much money has it cost us with Dominic and the issue regarding what went on in Dunmore? Was she ever arrested up there or taken into custody by the Dunmore police, brought to the prison? We can't get a straight answer. The second part of it is, if I handed her a handful of $100 bills and asked her to tell me what $100 bill was missing, I could understand her not understanding what 100 was missing. But if I gave her a handful of 50s and one $100 bill, she would remember that $100 bill. It's a stupid analogy, but when somebody hands you a key to the Lackawanna County Prison and you cannot remember, and you're a seasoned attorney who's trained in memory of what goes on and everything else, it's an absurdity that we're paying all this money over her reluctance or her reasoning for not telling the truth. And I use that word very cautiously. It's called truth. Who gave you the key that you lost to the jail? It's a very simple thing. It's a key. It's not a car. It's not a $100 bill. It's a key to the Lackawanna County Prison. You're not an idiot. You will remember it. But the cost it's cost us as taxpayers is absolutely ridiculous, that we have to go through this humiliation and game playing. If the individual can't answer that stupid question, then that individual should resign, because you're not trustworthy in our county to run our county and be respected with any decisions you make. putting that to the side, and I believe that's where the board has to be. The money that we spent there, and the warden and I have gone over this when I was at Lackawanna County Prison. And I'll stand behind everything the warden said today. I've never seen anybody in solitary confinement or anywhere else. Okay, the treatment at the prison was pretty decent. It's not going to be perfect, but then again, nowhere in this country is anything perfect. And when you're incarcerated, temperaments and issues arise, and you do have issues. But he runs a tight ship. And he's open-minded to suggestions. I brought up about pillows. You know what it is to sleep? Does anybody here sleep without a pillow at night? You don't fluff a pillow? How would you like to sleep in the county prison on a mattress this thick, and then when you sleep on it, it's like sleeping on that table? I had back surgeries. I had shoulder surgeries. I had to sleep on that. And what it is, it's like something you throw in your swimming pool with a little bump on the end of it to lay your head on. There's no reason in God's given earth we cannot have pillows in the prison. And don't give me the nonsense about safety. Prior service, we have many ways that you could kill somebody if that was the intent. So the nonsense about a pillow being a problem for suffocation, you got underwear there, you got clothing, you got bed sheets, you got anything you need if that's the case. And I like this board today to think about it. If you were incarcerated and you had to sleep without a pillow, what would your temperament be? Because you couldn't get a good night's sleep, you couldn't rest. That's humanitarian. It makes the warden's job easier. It also makes those that are incarcerated a hell of a lot easier to deal with what they're doing. And I would ask this board to put a motion to supply the prison with pillows. We have cameras, we have issues, we have everybody there. If you're going to have somebody take somebody on, a pillow doesn't make a damn bit of difference. If their intent is to kill somebody, they're going to kill them, no matter what way you want to look at it. So I think it's a very feeble excuse to raise that issue. And I would ask that you put a motion to allow the warden to buy pillows. A couple years ago, I spoke with Mike Lindell about donating the pillows here. And we were turned down because nobody would allow the pillows to come to the jail. So it's something I think you should consider. The other part of it is, I have 22 trailers that were donated to me of disinfectant wipes. And we've been donating them. They're not for sale. We're donating them all through the county here. Monroe County got them. Wyoming County's getting them. All the police agencies, fire departments, any first responder. I brought it up at the commissioners' meeting. I'd like to donate them to the prison, if that's acceptable to the board. It's not costing a dime, but they're the disinfectant wipes that are there, if the warden could use them, or if anybody else in the county could use them, to contact me or my office in Troop. I'll give you the phone number. It's 570-346-7659. And I'd like to see them do something good with them rather than just dump them in a landfill down the road. I deal with these people, and they needed space in their warehouse. And they called me up and asked me if I would pick up 22 trailer loads of them, which we've done. Today, the trailer is up at the Hartford Fair, unloading a whole trailer load that we donated. Last week, they were at the Wayne County Fair. Last night, they were up at Sherwood Park in Dunmore. So anywhere we could give them away, that's what this county's about. It's about who we all are. Everybody sitting in this room, we have one goal, and that's to make our county safer and a better place to live. And lies have no place in government. If you can't be truthful, you shouldn't be here. It's as simple as that. And that's all I got to say. And thanks for allowing me to take a few minutes of your time today. And hopefully we can move in another direction as a unified group here and leave politics out of it for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Warden, after the meeting, could you talk to Mr. Bolus about those wipes, if you can use them? Thank you.
What about the pillows, Warden?
I can certainly address that issue.
Could you please address that issue? And report back to us at the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bolus.
You're welcome, sure. And the board, I appreciate the time.
Anyone else would like to address the board?
Bev DeBarros, Scranton, PA. About the pillows, they can be bought through the commissary, as far as I know, because one of our inmates, and this was years ago, because I haven't been in the prison for 3.5 years, she bought one, and then she was placed in the hole, another word for solitary confinement. When she got out, her cell had been raided. All of her personal belongings had been thrown out, including the pillow that she bought. So, I mean, pillows can be gotten in there, to my knowledge, through the commissary, but not very few people could afford that on top of anything else. But I'm here to talk about the ability to vote. We know that incarcerated people have that right, but having access to the documents and information, to be able to do that, that's something else again. It's a little complicated. In fact, this week I went down to the Board of Elections and talked down there and asked them to come to the meeting or somebody and explain this better than me, but they declined, so here I am. Okay, so some of the inmates are already registered to vote at their address where they live when they're not in jail. And they have to apply for a mail-in ballot. Now, there's this, even this simple thing gets complicated because a Pennsylvania application for a mail-in ballot is a document like this, instructions on the back, and that is different, that you just request, as we know from COVID. You know, you don't need a reason. But there's also a Pennsylvania application for absentee ballot, which you do have to specify, and the reasons are that you're going to be absent that day, or you have a physical disability that you can't get to your voting place. You have to spell it out, have it signed and officiated and all that. But anybody can get a regular mail-in ballot, anybody that's registered to vote. So for the people who are not registered to vote, they can do an application. As we know, we all did this at one point in our life, voter registration application. Again, this is even a little complicated. For instance, here's one document, looks like a tax form. But after you fill all this out, then you have to mail it in. And you can't, you have to have postage. Now, I don't think our inmates are allowed to have a postage stamp or can't even buy one. In fact, I'll show you. Our county inmates, when they send mail, like this was sent to me, and they have to buy the envelope, or I think they can get 2 free envelopes a month. But the stamps are already, the price of it is already included in here. It's not a stamp that you can transfer to something else like this. All right, so they could put this, instead of mailing it to that, copy the address and put it in one of these envelopes. That would work. But also, since I'm on that subject, now here's mail that I got from one of our federal, one of our women had gone on to federal, West Virginia. Somebody else we know is down there too. But anyway, see, they can buy stamps and envelopes, and and also, you could see this just looks like regular mail. But of course, when it comes from here, it's stamped, contents mailed from correctional facility, so differences between county and federal. I don't know what the state is like. Now, back to this registration application. Down here, under instructions, it says, in prison, let's see, with this form, you can register to vote in elections in Pennsylvania. If you're in prison or convicted of a felony, that's the question. If you meet all other requirements, you may register and vote if you are in prison awaiting trial but have not been convicted. You are in prison after being convicted of a misdemeanor only, you can still vote. You have been released from prison or a halfway house after completing your term of incarceration. Or if you are on probation or released on parole, or if you're under house arrest. And then how to register for that. Let's see. Oh, so you can see it's in very small print. Very, very tiny print. And which brought back another memory to me when we had books in here and there were people, we had some large print books we were able to get, but all people needed were reading glasses, the ones who had a hard time reading. So we asked at that time, you know that story, could we provide reading glasses? Oh, no, we can't provide those. However, they could have been bought through the commissary for $10 also. So it's always this double standard, what the people can have, but they can have it if they buy it at a high price through the commissary. So that's a side issue. All right. So specifically, and I don't have this is all for in Pennsylvania voting that I talked about. So I don't know how people from state can get access to their state, whatever. But I think that we could have somebody who's very capable and responsible to do this in the prison, to provide this information, to follow up, to give the necessary paperwork, to help people in any way to register to vote. And I would like that person who's appointed to do this job to come to the prison board meeting and say how many people were able to get registered or to receive mail-in ballots if they're already registered. That's my issue. Okay. And thank you. If there's any action, I will be very thankful.
Mr. Salfanelli, I think that would require legal research, right? I think we,
I recall a few years ago, we had this conversation. The warden had indicated that it's accurate, they can register and vote while incarcerated, that we encouraged it. I thought there was some dialogue with Dr. Bressler about.
Yes, she was all set to come in and start the program, education and all. Then came COVID. She's more cautious than I am about being in public. But she has all the paperwork. It's not difficult, but I'm sure she would help.
Maybe we can have her get together with the counselors or somebody who's actually in the facility that would be the appropriate people to assist inmates and make the information available, and then have somebody that, rather than having the issues of outsiders coming in, the counselors might be able to help if, you want to talk to the warden.
Exactly. Somebody from in there should be able to handle this. And
I think we agreed to that already.
Stephanie's a great resource. Yeah.
Deputy Warden, could you make sure that happens? Thank you. Thank you.
Eileen Acapinti, Dunmore. I'm very happy that instead of sitting on almost $1 million, that it will be invested for the betterment of the inmates. I still have to go back to, does anyone else think that's an astonishing amount of money made as a profit on the inmates, and more so on the families of the inmates, which are the ones giving them the money to purchase whatever? Don't you think that, I mean, over what kind of period of time has that almost $1 million been accumulated? Because I know you've spent things on things to check the mail and all that, but that's a whole lot of money that's sitting there. And is there a group that runs the commissary that you hire and then they determine the profit margins?
That would be going on a long time, that account has been building up, many, many years. We'd have to research it to see how long ago that began.
So who determines the profit margin, the current contracted person?
That's a contract that the county has with the vendors that participate in business there. And they provide a certain percentage that the county can maintain.
It's a staggering amount of money for any business to have. And again, I commend you for investing it. My other statement, and I'm glad you addressed the petition that went out. I was a petition collector. I'm not part of the Stand Up Pennsylvania. But one of the issues, the issue, was not necessarily to ban solitary confinement, but it was, as the warden said, to define it. And that needs to be done. Whatever policy you have, that needs to be defined. Because my understanding when I read the article in the paper, that the warden had mentioned up to 23 hours a day with 1 hour of being out of your cell. And it's still, you are alone in that cell, even though there may be people around you. It might not be something out of a bad movie, but essentially we need to look at the evidence and to say what is the most effective way to punish these people and to still treat them in a humanitarian way. And I think that was why I obtained signatures, and that's what I think the purpose of this was to define it as the warden had said. Thank you.
Yeah, that has to be defined for sure.
Thank you. Anyone else?
May I approach?
Your name, please, ma'am?
Abigail Mikalski.
I can't hear you. Could you bring that a little closer to you?
My name is Abigail Mikalski.
Polsky?
Correct, sir.
Thank you. What's your address, ma'am? What is it? Thank you.
Scranton.
Thank you.
Hi. I was a little concerned when we first started. I heard a lot about money and not a lot about people. I don't think the word humanitarian is right. I think it's humane. I think if you put a person in a cage for long enough and don't provide the right services and tell them that they're an animal and treat them like an animal, they will begin to act like an animal, hence throwing feces. I have been a resident of Lackawanna County for about a year and 9 months, and it's been a displeasure for the most part dealing with most of the services. So I was homeless in January. I suffered at the hand of a very abusive ex-husband, soon to be, and he placed a PFE and left me in the street. And I had to brave the streets without a bank account and with very little help. And it is exhausting. I have faced homelessness. The county has messed up several times and I've almost lost my apartment 3. I can't imagine what they feel like coming out. And I can't imagine, because now we all understand isolation and what that feels like, what it feels like to go in and know that this is how we punish. This is how we deal with things, yet I have seen very few people that are emotionally capable of doing their jobs. Most people were debilitated by death rates that were publicized like it was a football game and the scoreboard. And yet there were those of us that were handling real life issues. And I'm sure there were many people that cracked because of the way that things were run. I know that when I met Bev, she was preparing to bring in gifts for the families and for the inmates and was denied access and was heartbroken. It was horrendous to look at all these gifts for children, for the inmates' children. And I saw it was probably thousands of dollars in donations. She was going to the store, she was spending money she doesn't have, and they were denied access. They are continuously denied access to bring hope to people that actually need it. And to be honest, the mental health services, when you asked where the health service bill went and he couldn't answer you, that's your answer. It's not. It doesn't take that long to generate a report. I worked for a psychiatrist for 2 years and I did a lot of reporting. And it's mandated, it's lawful. It's just the way that it is. So when you're dealing with people with psychiatric issues underlying, because honestly, any crimes they're committing are probably starting with their mental state. Just healthy people don't go around hurting others. You know, beating people up, shooting, doing drugs. Addiction is a symptom. Thievery, a symptom probably from your homeless population that now, literally, I could tell them anything about an organization. They would not trust anybody. They didn't have a safe home to isolate in. When you talk about pillows, I've slept on the floor with roaches. So I understand what it feels like to not have livable conditions. And when you deny people that will bring hope and healing to their minds so that when they get on the outside, they can do what I've had to do and fight for every scrap of food, for everything that they need, and get no's, constantly have to deal with the disappointment of a no, they will be all right to do that. But I'm telling you that if you treat them this way, you deny them services, when they get out here, they will go back to the same place. They will go back to the things that they know because it's easier. It would be real easy to give up. It would be real easy to go back and to pretend like everybody in this room hasn't done something they're not proud of. But to define people by their mistakes, their shortcomings, not who they currently are and who they want to be, is not okay. And to deny them the services and rights to get mental health care, which everybody needs. I can tell you that the prior authorizations that I had to do when Corona started went up about 8 prior authorizations a day. I was doing 20. Everybody wanted anxiety medication. Everybody wanted sleep medication. Everybody needed experimental drugs. We were doing a Spravato program. So Johnson & Johnson also makes other things. Everybody needed medication at that point. You would be surprised who came in that needed medication at that point. So why would we think that at any point, after all that, there's not going to be an aftermath and a newly needed upkeep of mental health care? They need to be treated like people. They need to be helped so that when they get out here, they don't do the same thing. And we can hear like there's 6 empty beds. You know, we can hear someone that, you know, had a rope around her neck actually got better. That's not a sign of somebody that's a criminal. That's a sign of somebody that needs help emotionally and mentally and needs hope and healing. What I'm asking for is that there is better mental health instated into the prison system, that the health resources that you have and all that $1 million goes to something that matters, like their mental standing, so they can be healthy, whole human beings. And I'm asking that organizations that bring help and hope to them would be allowed access. They shouldn't be confined during meal times. They should be allowed to be as free as they possibly can while they are being treated like animals. And yes, putting a person in a cage is treating them like an animal. I understand about safety, but I'm also saying that there needs to be some kind of humane treatment, not humanitarian, humane. We're talking about people, not numbers. And that would be all.
Thank you.
Excuse me, but I'd like to clarify something that was said. Okay, Abigail, like many people, come to my house because I do sewing for people, and I'm easy to find online and that. She came, I did a sewing project for her, and many people see, books for prison at my house, and so we did have the discussion, and at the time she was there, we had the children's books that were going to be given out on a card table, and they were beautiful books, and they were donated by Asbury Church, which I had reported earlier this year. And Abby actually donated money for an additional book, which I bought and gave. But at that time, we were under the COVID restrictions. I knew that we couldn't get in to the prison, but I was corresponding with some of the inmates, and so I said, Asbury Church would like to donate books and gifts to children of inmates. If you give me we had a form for them, where your children are located, their ages, their gender, et cetera. That's what we did. We only could get about 30 names at the most, and we provided gifts. We delivered to Avoca, to Reading, Scranton, of course. We just had so many. Mount Pocono volunteers took these gifts, and it was really good. But I don't think it was in the thousands of dollars, and I personally, didn't give more than I could afford. So I don't know. I just felt like probably Abby didn't know the background or the scope of the project, and it seemed like a lot more to her than it was really small. We wish it would have been as big as she indicated. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please state your name and address, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Reed, and I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I am here on quite a few concerns. Your concerns were very heartfelt, very heartfelt. The young woman that spoke about isolation. I feel her hurt and I feel her pain because I'm isolated, and you might not understand this, but I'm isolated every day because of the color of my skin. Although I am a graduate from college, I studied early childhood education. I presently work with children, but I'm isolated every day. In terms of confinement that was mentioned, I looked it up, and it is to be confined in one area, no movement. Just like some words was mentioned, a cage, and you know, a place that hasn't been lived in. And yes, there were petitions that were going around for that to be looked at. I don't know if the petitions are in yet, you know, if they're being talked about. However, though, there are a lot of concerns about this confinement or in the hole. I don't like to use the word in the hole because it doesn't even sound humanistic. It doesn't even sound human. So we'll go with the word confinement. My question with that is, when a client or an inmate is put in confinement, what's the reason for it? For one. For two, does it also cause them to become more emotionally distressed than what they already are? Could it cause more severe mental health issues? Could it cause them to act out? Now, I have a situation with a family member who is there now. He's been there 14 months, no real convictions. The lawyer, I will not mention names right now, lawyer just isn't working out. So he keeps going back and forth to court. Nothing has been done, but in the meanwhile, he has lost a very good job that he had. He has lost contact with his 5-year-old daughter. Thank God her mother feels the same way as I do. So, you know, we do try to let her talk to her dad, but he has no answers as to when he's coming home. He's been sitting there for 14 months. So there are so many different things that are going on down there. Unless you really have someone that's involved in the system, you know, you don't know. And I understand, yeah, there is a job that we all have to do. Absolutely. Okay, I work with kids. When they don't respond, sure, you know, they have to be put on a, you know, timeout, but we check on the child. And we don't, you know, put them there for an hour, not even a half an hour. We tell them why, you know, this is happening. We then love them to let them know, okay, this is not the proper behavior. As opposed to down the block, you know, these people are put in confinement. I have a family member that was put there for, I think, like 5 days, if I want to say. And he was told he was under investigation, and come to find out, he didn't have anything to do with what was happening. But yet, he was there. So, you know, I don't know if we need outsource resources, you know, to go down there and question things and see what order that these things, you know, go in and how how they work. However, though, I do agree with what you ladies, said about confinement. And is that a way of punishment? They are already, I guess, being accountable. I don't like to use punish, but they are already being accountable for what they did. Some are there because they was with the wrong person. Some are there, yes, because they did, do what was wrong. So not everybody is there because they are bad. They have made poor choices. I have made poor choices. My last concern is, again, a family member of mine is there. He's having a problem with his glasses. He's been asking for a pair of glasses. I saw him, and his nose bridge has broken out. It's scabby. And all he is told is, when we get around to you. I understand he's not the only one there. I'm not asking for special treatment. But if you're on the medical staff, at least take out some time. I'm not saying for you to love everyone there, but at least care. Where is the caring part? And lastly, I want to say, and I quote this from the Bible, Jesus Christ, and this pertains to me. Jesus says, ye without sin, cast the stone. We are professional people. We have worked for it, and we have earned it. Absolutely. I'm not taking that away from anyone here. But I don't think any of us have such a clean slate where we can incarcerate people and treat them like they're an animal or speak to them like they're an animal. It's wrong. It's wrong all across the board. It's wrong. I would just like to see a little bit more care, some more concern. Maybe there's a team that can come in and speak to some of these, inmates and just talk to them. Maybe make their day a little easier. And I'm going to just express my situation. For someone that's been there for 14 months and has no answers and keeps going back and forth to court and brought back to the prison without an answer. I think that's unfair and that's unjust. And I do understand isolation. And I'm isolated every day. Thank you for hearing me.
I wasn't going to get up here and say anything, but I want to make something very clear, ladies. I spent time in Lackawanna County Prison. I'm a businessman, and I employ hundreds of people. Okay? Was I there because I did something wrong? No, but I challenged it, and I'm challenging it to this day. But I walked out of the prison on Tuesday, and I was before the prison board and the commissioners on Wednesday, bringing up what I believe were issues. And let me explain something to you. I've been in the military, I've been all over the world. Color doesn't make a difference, and it upsets me. White lives matter just like black lives matter. And color should not be an issue. Incarceration is a purpose. Okay, people that are in there, let's take a rapist. Maybe we should take them for a ride on Saturday afternoon. Or a pedophile, maybe we should take them to a children's park. Okay, because geez, he's a nice guy. Doesn't work that way. Incarceration's for a purpose. I spent time there. I didn't believe in it. I didn't belong there. I accepted what was going on and dealt with it when I walked out the door. And I deal with it to this day. That's why I'm here about pillows and other things that need to be done. Not about what you don't get or what you get. You're incarcerated. Don't expect somebody with kid gloves. There's a medical staff. The staff that was there prior to the one that's there now was substandard. I came out of a hospital. I had stents put in, and I was taking off my medicines that I needed to take, Plavix and all, which almost killed me. I have a suit against that individual. All right? It had nothing to do with where it goes. Unfortunately, your voice is lost in a lot of areas. Look what's going on in this country. I was in Minneapolis for surgery. You think I enjoyed seeing the buildings being burned by BLMs and everything else running up and down the road, spitting on our police, shooting at people, making color an issue? There is no color in America. If you're an American, you are an American. You have rights. Just like you come before this board. You have a judicial system better than any in the country, anywhere in the world. I've been in Saudi Arabia. I've been in Iran. I've been around all the places in the world. Our judicial system is better than most. Okay, so everybody gets a fair chance. It doesn't make a difference what your color, your nationality is, your political views are. You're out here, you could speak for someone. You're not in isolation. You're right here today. You have a right to speak here today. This is America. This is why we put uniforms on, to defend our country, to give you and everybody else here a right, whether you're incarcerated or not. And you could come out. Just like I'm speaking here today to this board and the people here. We have rights. That's why we're called Americans. What's going on now is taking our rights away from within our own damn country by the leadership we have. And everybody that did that vote should look in the mirror and say, we screwed our country, nobody else, where we're at right now. But if you're an American, you're an American. If you're not, get the hell out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Members, other business? Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.